Ooh, a little pickup. A little bit of pickup.
Let's see, Phil, that's clipping right there.
That's the monitor.
Blue teeth.
Doesn't make it done. Good evening. This is two Broke Twimbos recording to you from outdoors in Mother Nature.
Decembering. I don't like that. I don't like that volume. So how's that feel?
No, I can't hear you, Dan. Speak, Dan.
1, 2, 1, 2. Lovely. Lovely. There we go. But can you see that your mic is picking me up? Look, this is going to be an interesting recording, that's for sure.
Fret not, Dan. Fret not. Our listeners understand. Welcome back. It is us. Le Twimbo de Broke.
Oh, wait. I'm not connected to this thing.
Too late now, Danny boy.
Okay. I mean, that means you're going to have to play the music. And the intros.
It's fine. Because Dan, I'm always
good to go.
Are you?
Good to go.
Okay, all right.
What a song. Atmos is a beat. Atmos is not no. Anyway, welcome back to Two Broke Twimbos. We are currently recording in my dining room. We've been kicked out of my office because there's supposed to be a studio session, but the producer is not here yet. And
That's honestly very shocking for Zimbabwean
it really
creatives.
is. It really is. It really. I am aghast, Dan. I am aghast, flabbergasted, and taken aback.
Honestly, we have come to expect a certain level of professionalism from history. You know, that's what taught. But I guess, you know, we have to accept that once in a while things might go askew, awry.
I mean, you'd never expect this from the G-Wagon boys, you know? And but anyway, it is what it is. But it's a nice environment because, you know, we've got some end of year fatigue. Dan and I, you know, we've been struggling a little. You know, it took some extra motivation to get this episode done. So, you know, something like a little change of scenery, a change of environment, you know, a change of dynamic might reinvigorate us to pull out a top class episode, Dan.
It's not just that, Phil. It's not just that. I have to, right at the beginning of this episode, I have to give a big shout out to my wife. I've been extremely busy lately, which means I haven't had as much time as I would have liked. You know, in December, relax, make a cocktail, talk stories, watch some trash TV. So, you know.
Speaking of trash TV, we must come back to that.
We will get back to it. But yeah, so I could see on her face, and I was like, I'm going to Phil's. She was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'll be back, babes. I'll be back.
Why didn't you bring her along?
She was doing a workout.
There's a gym here.
She was never going to leave the house without getting... Look, it's a whole other story. She can't just leave the house.
Oh, one guy you wanted the bed in. Yeah. No more bed takes this. Speaking of equipment, Alpha.
Yeah, can it fit in this car?
Can you be serious with your life?
We'll take some of it. Anyway, let's move. Philip, you have access to all this stuff, so
yes,
give us the jump up in the club. Everybody got the
Good to go.
Two Broke Twimbos in the town. Danny, that guy, and Phil Child.
What are you doing? Okay,
it's taking a while, Phil.
It's not because I was gonna start with this, but anyway, let's start with what you want. Let's go.
Up in Everybody gather round. Two broke Twimbos in the town. Listen close to the sound. I need that guy and feel charged. They bringing the fun. With the podcast vibes, we not stop till the morning sun. Every episode got me laughing, can't control my smile. Talking about the latest news with their unique style. From Zimbabwe to the world, they spreading good vibes, keeping it real and entertaining. We're on the rise. Two broke Twimbos, bring the heat to the floor. Everybody get guy and feel charged in control. We gonna keep grooving to the podcast flow. Oh yeah. We gonna keep grooving to the podcast flow. Oh yeah.
Wagwan. We are big. Tazoka Shakare. Mihorare Hamirare.
I suppose we just get straight into it. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's start off with Zimbabweans doing it big.
No, but first, Dan, are you?
Good to go.
I've been good to go. Are you the one
Good
who's...
to go.
All right, let's go. No.
Wagwan, that's the boy Phil Chat.
And it's your boy, Danny that guy, aka Denias, aka Denimbi, aka yeah. You know the drill. It's a different environment. We're in a different space. Reduce the watts for us a little bit there, Phil. Thank you.
But easier with don't only Phil Chad, they're unmistakable, they're irrefutable. That you will buy me a vehicle. Phil Chad, aka Flint Floss, the big boss, aka Sexes on Logo, aka Filthy Phil, aka DJ Mkaraji, aka Elon Musk. I run the country. And of course, Shamari, take a drink. And we're back again. How are you guys doing? Are you well? Are you strong? Are you good?
Good to go.
Is the Decembering the way you wanted to December? Well, hopefully we can contribute to some of your joy this month. Let's start off with Zimbabweans doing it big. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. We like to start off the podcast with something positive so that we can say we actually do some, upliftment on this podcast before we get into mess. So we're going to start off with celebrating some Zimbabweans. Now, I have mentioned this several times before, but which other podcast celebrates the beauty pageants the way Two Broke Twimbos does? You won't find any. You'll find none. That having been said, I would like to introduce you to the winner of Miss Intercontinental Africa, none other than Zimbabwean model Amanda Peresu Moyo, who won the Miss Intercontinental Africa title 2 weeks ago.
Wait, hold up. She's literally the Intercontinental champion.
Yes.
So she's got the Intercontinental belt.
Yes.
Was this on SmackDown or Raw?
This was held in Egypt. So it was payback.
It was payback, pay-per-view.
last of last Friday. So last of last Friday. So she made it into the top 5, obviously, and then she was in the top 5 of she was in the top 8 of Miss Universe Zimbabwe, the one that had Sakili. Then she went and competed at Miss Intercontinental, and she actually won it.
So how did she defeat Randy Orton?
So she won Miss Intercontinental Africa, but Miss Intercontinental period went to Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay.
So Miss Intercontinental Africa happens to be in the top 5 overall because 5 continents. That's great. So congratulations to Amanda Peresu Moyo coming through Miss Intercontinental Africa.
What up? Congrats to her, bro. Congrats to her.
And last week, Phil, we were talking about Spotify Wrapped, GGG. Let's take this moment. Do you want to know which Zimbabweans were the most streamed on Spotify?
Okay.
Take a guess.
Night Freak
was number 2.
Zimbabweans.
Yep. And I'm not, this is not a...
Rachel Chinuri was number 1 then?
No.
She can't be.
Rachel Chinuri was...
Who are we classifying as number 1? Night Freak was how many? Yeah, 9 million. Right?
Night Freak.
Night Freak.
Night Freak. Garnered, according to his Spotify Wrapped, 90 million streams during the year. The number 1 Zimbabwean artist had 108 million streams. So everyone thought it was Night Freak until he came forward and he was like, yo, y'all sleeping on me.
Okay, give me the genre.
R&B. Pop. It was Dacom.
Uh,
He had that one hit song of his that got mad streams. So Dacom, most streamed Zimbabwean artist.
but that's the item with Chami. Those songs, the EDM songs with Chami.
I don't know who's on it, but you know the song, the super catchy song that was like, it was like on like every pop playlist, and yeah. But yeah, he did his thing. So Dacom with 108 million streams, Night Freak with 90 million streams. So they did their thing. It's okay. We can let people walk past for a second. You know?
They can walk past, but they're making noise, especially when they're late.
They walk in here just
After I beat us from our studio. DLC, what are you doing?
Darlington. Are you proud of how? Because we could have been recording upstairs if it wasn't for you, but you were late. Please proceed. When you say soundproofing, please. Anyway, yeah. So congratulations to Dacom coming at number 1, Night Freak coming in at number 2.
Do you know what? This is actually hilarious. Let me show you why.
By the way, there's no publications anywhere that measure this. It's just I didn't see anyone with more than 108 million streams, and I didn't see anyone with more than from that.
I was gonna say this is why it's funny.
Mm-hmm. Why is it funny, Phil?
Oh.
Why is it funny, Phil? Are you about to play something?
No, because never mind. I'll tell you off.
Okay, it's fine. Anyway, congratulations to those two artists and all artists who got lots of streams in 2024. Okay, a quick follow-up on something we spoke about last week. In the last episode, we did spend a bit of time talking about this Drake lawsuit against UMG, or rather, 2 petitions, pre-action petitions against UMG and Spotify, and I think at some point Apple Music and what's the radio network? iHeartRadio. Yeah. We spoke about that a little bit. So I put it here just as a quick follow-up because I came across, it was just one tweet. And the person said, because one of the pre-action petitions was about defamation, because there was a song that called Drake a pedophile. And this tweet said, go back and listen to that song. There's not a single line where he calls Drake a pedophile. And I was like, nah, that can't be true. I mean, he literally said certified lover boy, certified pedophiles. He says it in plural, and it's in reference to someone who has a weird case. Why is he around? Of course, people can make their own conclusions and implications. And I was like, okay, no, but he also did say Drake, I hear you like him young. Technically, that's not calling someone a pedophile either. There's a lot of plausible deniability. And I thought that was I was like, I never thought, in my head, it was just, it's obvious the song calls Drake a pedophile. But when I read that tweet and I went back to listen to the lyrics, I was like, no, wait, actually.
I think that's a moot point. Because ultimately, even if he does call him a pedophile, I think, especially with the values that America espouses with regards to the First Amendment, freedom of speech, artistic expression, which is another thing, what does it say for all of those if you are now calling lyrics to the mat?
I agree. Even when we discussed it last week, we felt like this potential lawsuit doesn't have any legs. I'm just adding the extra layer, which is, even though we assumed that he did call him a pedophile, technically, if we're really going to sit down and argue the nitty-gritties of the law, and again, I'm not a lawyer, maybe we need to hear if semantics will play a role in this, or maybe people will talk about, it's not about the semantics, it's about the fact that people would then make their own conclusions based on all this law speak. But I'm just simply pointing out, I came across this tweet, and I was like, nah, that can't be true. And I went back and I was like, no, wait, actually, there isn't a single lyric in the whole song where Kendrick calls Drake a pedophile.
Mm-hmm. I would also say, it's a thought I've expressed on the podcast before, and I've expressed it here, but I think this week kind of cemented it to me. And there's someone called Absa effing Lutley. She's a writer and a strategist. She's now got a new YouTube page. She's very young, but she's very succinct, very intelligent woman. And she highlighted something that I've been saying, but she put it into, she did it a lot better than I could. And she's like, this lawsuit isn't necessarily about Drake getting restitution. It's not about Drake getting an apology. It's about Drake solidifying his audience amongst red pillars.
I saw that discussion, actually. So, like, we're not the target market. They know what they're doing.
But and that's the thing. We've never been, and that's a conversation I've been trying to have with people for a while, and I don't think people understand. And I've said it, but maybe now this crystallizes it for people. Another example of this is Beyonce. So when you cross over from hip hop to the levels that Drake, Beyonce, etc. had, let's stick with Drake for this example. Drake's main audience is not black people or black men who are the core hip hop audience. Drake's core audience are white men because he is indeed a pop act. Therefore, he does not really abide by the rules of hip hop. And things started looking funny when it looked like he was borrowing from hip hop to gain cool points, but would dabble in and out. So, even in Not Like Us, what Kendrick was also trying to allude to is, you get all these people on your songs or you do collabs with them, and then you leave them in the dust and you take their sound to your next project, next song, next album, and they don't really get any follow-on benefits. So yes, sure, you did them a solid by collaborating with them and giving them a number one. But beyond that, what have you done? And there's also cases of people being used and spat out. The Weeknd has a beef with Drake because he felt he was trying to do that to him. Mackinnon has stated, this is what Drake did to me. I'm forgetting the gentleman who was found out to be the ghostwriter who lost his arm, sadly. He has the same stories. There's the producer of Started From the Bottom. He literally says that, these guys took my whole swag and then they dissed me. So Drake has this reputation of doing that. And I think he's presented himself as a culture vulture. He's presented himself as a colonizer. And the way he's moved since this beef has really cemented it. And I don't think, for example, this Anita Maxwin tour is him running from his problems. It's him running towards his future, knowing that, my audience are white pop fans who don't really care about, there's a group of fans who know Drake was in a beef with Kendrick. They know harsh things were said. They even think Kendrick said some things that can't be proven. But they don't care beyond that. They don't care that, this beef happened. Harsh things were said. Drake is suing. And their mind's like, yeah, he should sue. Why did he call him a pedophile? That's messed up.
So I don't disagree with what you're saying, right? I agree with it. But at the same time, I remind myself that ultimately, as much as we put so much so much gravity and weight on the culture and what ultimately we're talking about entertainment. Who can sing good? Who can rap good? Yes, there's elements of culture that are attached to it. There's deep feelings that people have, but ultimately we're talking about who can rap good or who makes music that people like. So I find it hard. Sorry, I just showed Phil something that we're about to discuss. Don't worry, it's coming up with the show. I literally just opened my Twitter and that's Anyway, I didn't want us to talk too long about this Drake lawsuit. It was just a quick update. But the way I see it, right, I completely understand culture vulture and people who complain. But bro, if Drake didn't come and give you a number one hit, if that didn't happen at all, you were going to be in the same space. You were going to be literally in the same space that you are now. The only difference is you wouldn't have a number one hit. So I don't feel that much sympathy. It does make me look at Drake funny, but I Love Mackinnon wouldn't have been in a better space if he didn't do the song with Drake.
We don't know that.
Okay, obviously we don't know anything
and
for
also,
sure.
And also it's to a certain degree, it can actually be reduced to a zero-sum game where yes, you have a fleeting moment of success, but you're so hamstrung by the conditions within that success is given to you.
That's on you, bro. You can't blame Drake for that.
No, but once this is where
if I sound like I'm defending Drake. I'm not trying. I look at him funny for that. I just don't have sympathy for
because okay, Dan, let me put it this way: if you're an artist and genuinely try to put yourself in this position, you're an artist. You've been pushing, you've been struggling, you're trying to get a breakthrough, right? You don't really have money behind you. You don't have backing behind you. You somehow catch lightning in a bottle with a hit. But a hit is only as big as it can be marketed, right? So until it gets that extra push, like Shabuzi's club song wasn't Shabuzi's club song until Empire really started putting the money behind it, right? So you're on that cusp and you're figuring it out as you go. And then Drake hollers at you and says, yo, I like this song. I see where it's going. Let's not only do a collab, but let's strike a deal. I'm going to sign you to my label. We're going to record some music. I'm going to be on your project. You're going to be on mine. We'll work together. In your mind, you're like, yo, this is what I've been hoping and praying for. I would think, right? So even in that instance, if a contract is presented to you, but this is what Drake has told you. Drake is on your phone. Drake is messaging you on one-to-one. Are you telling your lawyer, yo, go through this with a fine-tooth comb, make sure that we push back on all these deals? Or you're like, yo, let's rubber stamp this contract, let's get it going because this is my big break.
Yes. You are likely going to do that.
So that's my point.
But my point here is you're a struggling artist. Okay. You're trying to break through. You got a little bit of buzz, but, bills are still hard to pay. Along comes the biggest artist in the world and says, I want to do a collaboration with you. The only thing you get out of this is exposure. Full stop. Nothing else. You could sit down and say, well, I don't like this contract. I don't want to do it. Okay, cool.
You're missing a key caveat, but I'll explain.
Let me. I'm just painting. Of course, I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just painting a scenario here. If I was managing an artist, or if I was an artist, to me, it would be like, okay, we're about to have a stimulus package. It may not be as good as it looks on the shiny cover. We know that it comes as a bit of a poison chalice, but the difference is here's this little package. Maybe I'm not going to earn from it. Maybe I'm not going to be able to build it. Maybe I don't have the infrastructure in place at the moment to do it. But what I have is a little boost. I have a song. I Love Mackinnon has a song with Drake. That's how I know his name. I wouldn't have known his name otherwise. But then now, next time he puts out a song, I might be checking for it. Maybe now that he's had this little boost, he can start trying to put in place plans to try and work. So my point here is I find very little sympathy for someone who says, yeah, but Drake just came and did a song with me and then left. I mean,
okay, Drake said that though.
Drake, this is what we were discussing earlier, that a lot of people were speaking about.
But I'm speaking to the specific people that were hamstrung. So Mackinnon was signed to OVO.
Yeah, that's different. That's different. Yeah. So now we're talking about you were signed to a label and you were deliberately pushed down. The flip side that I was going to say is Drake basically he capitalized. Capitalism capitalizes. He saw opportunities. He Logan Royed, and it worked for him. And people felt like flies around him, as does Rihanna, as does Beyonce, as does Jay-Z, as does everyone else. So celebrities are not what? Good people. Full stop. That's how I see it. So I agree with what we're saying that, yeah, Drake has come in with culture vulture, but I also think we're looking at this as if we're talking about music, bro. We're talking about entertainment. We're talking about a capitalist who wants to try and make as much money as possible. He sees there's a wave. He finds a way to get into the wave. He maximizes his profits. He maximizes how much he can utilize and exploit this wave, and then he moves on. It looks shady. It is shady. But that's what everyone in business is doing. And I'm not saying that that's what you should do. I'm just saying, well, isn't that what we were expecting? Isn't that what we expect all artists to do? And of course, you do it for long enough, then you're everyone's enemy. And now it's time for you to fall. And we all celebrate at the fall of Pep Guardiola. Anyway, we've mentioned Jay-Z.
Speaking of, that's actually,
I
feel bad.
I don't feel an ounce of it. For Pep.
No, for Man City, the club, they deserve it. And that's the thing is Pep is falling, but Man City, the club, have still not been called to book for their crimes.
It's coming. Because did you hear the charges have gone from 115 to 130?
We want our title back.
And the problem is,
our title back.
These guys can't fire Pep because he will just turn into a star witness.
But if they were smart, they would have air-gapped it. Why would Pep know that? Why would Pep have that information?
Even if he doesn't know all the details, he's obviously intrinsically tied up to. He'll say, "I need this striker," and they'll be like, but Pep, okay, let's see if we try to do this, if we balance the books like that.
But that's once again, that's a failing on their part because the general manager should never have that conversation. He'll be like, "Okay, noted. We'll see what we can do. Leave it at that."
Phil, have you ever worked in a company?
Yes.
Have you ever worked in a company? How is it that you expect that corporate governance is perfect? Well, it's not.
No, but I've never worked in a company committing billions of dollars worth of fraud.
I wish. Anyway, let's talk about this Jay-Z situation, Phil. I know people are. It's a. There's a couple of things that I think we can talk about. So let me just do a quick recap and then we'll do some takes. So if you haven't heard the news, on Sunday, earlier this week, or I guess the end of last week, depending on how you look at dates, there was a public accusation that was spread to the internet, a lawsuit for a civil case in which Jay-Z was accused of. You see, I'm being very, very cognizant of the fact that our podcasts get transcribed, and so let's just say he was graped. He was accused of graping.
This is pathetic. This is pathetic. What the hell are you?
All right. Yeah, let's be serious here. Okay. So Jay-Z, real name Sean Carter, was accused of raping a teenage girl, apparently after the VMA Awards back in the year 2000. Apparently this happened alongside his good friend, Diddy, then known as Puffy. Apparently this young lady was 13 at the time. She's anonymous in this lawsuit, and she's being represented by a lawyer, apparently an infamous lawyer by the name of Tony Busby.
Yeah, Tony Busby.
So this is a situation. So by the way, this only became public this Sunday, but this apparently has been happening for several months in the background. So this lawsuit originally was filed in October. It was originally against Diddy, and then it mentioned that there was another unidentified celebrity. Many people theorized at the time that it might be Jay-Z. I think we might have as well at the time. Anyway, Jay-Z himself then responded with a statement on, for some reason, the Rock Nation Twitter account. Doesn't he have his own Twitter account? But anyway,
no, he doesn't actually. He's not on Twitter.
He does. He's got the S_C_ account that he either
never
archives.
Yeah, but he never used it. Maybe he forgot the password and that it was a time sensitive situation.
You can tell my man was trembling, like furious as he wrote this.
Oh wow! I can't even summarize this. Summarizing this document violates the Adobe guidelines.
Really?
So
Anyway, so in this statement, Jay-Z says, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from an air quotes, he literally puts the quotes in, lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. Or rather, what he calculated was the nature of these allegations, the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir, it had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. All caps. These allegations are so heinous in nature that I implore you to file a criminal complaint, not a civil one. Whomever would commit such a crime against a minor should be locked away. Would you not agree? That's a wrong use of syntax there, but anyway. Whom?
It's American education system.
These alleged victims would deserve real justice if that were the case. This lawyer, who I have done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these type of theatrics. I have no idea how you have come to be such a deplorable human.
Sorry, time out. A bit of research. Can you imagine Jay-Z like typing with two fingers on his laptop like Tony Busby search
Tony Busby. So and then he goes on to say how this is a heartbreak for his family because now he has to explain to his children what's going on. I mourn yet another loss of innocent children, he says. My heart and support goes out to true victims in the world who have to watch how their life story is dressed in costume for profitability by this ambulance chaser in a cheap suit. Jeez. He says, you've made a terrible error in judgment, thinking that all celebrities are the same. I'm not from your world. I'm a young man who made it out of the projects of Brooklyn. We don't play these types of games. We have very strict codes and honor. We protect children. You seem to exploit people for personal gain. And then he goes on to say, I look forward to showing you just how different I am.
Well, you missed the physics line.
Didn't I? What's the physics line? Oh, yeah, he said, only a network of conspiracy theorists, fake physics, will believe the idiotic claims you have levied against me, that if not for the seriousness surrounding harm to kids would be laughable.
That's how you know he was pressed. My man typoed psychics.
The weird thing is also this is the second upload because I think he edited it or deleted it and then uploaded it with that last line. It wasn't there before. Anyway. Okay, so just to give you a timeline of what is alleged in this lawsuit, right? Alleged in this lawsuit is that this 13-year-old girl, unnamed, was trying to get into the VMAs back in the year 2000. And then a limo driver apparently came up and saw her there and was like, yeah, you did his type. So hang on, I'm going to pick you up and take you to the after party. So she hung around, the limo driver came and then picked her up, took her to the after party. At this after party, she got in and saw bare celebrities in it. And while she was there, she was like really starstruck. And then she grabbed a drink. Then she started feeling woozy. And then that's when the alleged rape happened. It says both Jay-Z and Diddy and an unnamed female celebrity who was also in the room, who didn't do anything but was watching. Okay, so this is the allegation. I think that's pretty much most of it. The only other thing maybe that's worth mentioning is what's the situation is, right? So obviously this is American court system and law system and justice system is quite complex. So this is a civil suit. It's not a criminal suit. And what Jay-Z here calls a blackmail or demand letter is actually, I think it's supposed to be a petition for a deposition, I think. Or what do you call it? When you sit and settle. So apparently this is very common practice. And the idea is, and I don't want to say this because this sort of implicates whether it's true or false, but let me just say what is probably very common in the world of celebrities is, hey, there's this really bad potential lawsuit issue. We can solve it outside of the courts, outside of public eye, so that you can maintain your reputation. Because obviously your money is based on your reputation. So that's very common among celebrities. We've heard of it many times. I watched Suits. I'm sure you have as well. It's a thing. But the point is...
And say, I watched Suits. Dan, can you please be serious?
The point is, so according to Tony Busby himself, then also put out several statements on his Twitter, and then people were saying, but yo, Jay-Z did raise a valid point. Why are you making this a civil case instead of a criminal case? Well, the fact of the matter is there are valid reasons why someone would make a civil case instead of a criminal case. We spoke about this when Cassie put forward a civil lawsuit against Diddy for a crime. The statute of limitations, remember, had been suspended for a while in the state of New York, and that's why all these things were coming out against Diddy. Cassie didn't pursue criminal. And either way, an individual or a lawyer doesn't pursue criminal cases. It's normally the state, the DA, I believe, who would then pursue a criminal case. But then under normal circumstances, what you'd expect if there's a criminal case is you'd take evidence to the police. The police would then collect more evidence, investigate, and then submit it to the DA, and then the state will then submit a criminal case against someone. So it's not just a case of you choose, are you going to do civil or are you going to do criminal? And of course, when someone is powerful and famous and so on, you can also think, I don't know if I should go down the criminal route because along the line, how many people do I know that might have an issue? Civil is a safer option for me to pursue because then I can just get money out of this and we move. So there's many valid reasons why someone might choose a civil case. So I don't think it's fair for everyone to just say, why don't you just pursue a criminal case? But that having been said, there's a lot of
inconsistencies.
There's a lot of inconsistencies. And I hate this because this person maybe is remembering something that happened 24 years ago and might not have all the details correct and might have mixed up some things. And then we're over here nitpicking at every individual inconsistency, right? So I don't want to be that person. But I heard a discussion about how when the lawsuit was raised by Cassie against Diddy, even before the video came out, yes, there were people that didn't believe Cassie, but I think in general, the majority of people were like, yeah, Diddy been moving like that. Whereas now with Jay-Z, I would think, at least from my bubble, that the majority of people seem to be like, I don't know if Jay-Z really moves like that. I mean, some people will raise, no, Jay-Z started hitting on Beyonce when she was 17 or whatever the case is. Or other people might say Jay-Z was around Aaliyah at the time. Jay-Z used to hang around with R. Kelly and Diddy. And I understand that, right? But I think there's also a general reputation that Jay-Z has built for himself, whether true or not true, that he is supposedly this, honorable street dude with a code of ethics and honor and all of that, right? And I guess Diddy built more of a reputation of being the party boy, the kind of crazy dude. The rumors of things like freak-offs had been happening ever since the 90s, to be honest. So I can see why there's this like immediate sort of like, I don't know, your story sounds funny from a lot of people. Whereas a lot of other people are like, he did it. And I know he did it because you can't tell me he was BFFs with R. Kelly and Diddy and he's the only one who's a good guy out of all of them. So anyway, this is sort of like an overview of the entire situation. I'm sure there's a couple of things that I've missed in there, but it's a general overview of the situation. Okay, so what do you think, Philip?
I think obviously Jay-Z was trying to buy ABC, and now they're trying to go after my brother, man. Sad. We've got to awaken ourselves.
All right.
Okay,
We got this is serious.
So the thing is, right, as much as even on this podcast we have the mantra believe all victims.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many things that aren't making sense to me. The timelines on the evening, the fact that Jay-Z and Diddy were photographed at different after parties after the event. The fact that she says 20 minutes after leaving Manhattan, she was taken to a mansion with a U-shaped driveway. I don't know if you've been to New York, but a mansion with a U-shaped driveway on the island.
This is why I say sometimes, like, you know what? You're 13 years old. You've been drinking. You're around celebrities. It's a big.
But so
maybe you thought it was in New York, but actually you were in the car for a while, and you're actually in New Jersey. Or you know what I mean?
I would agree with that, except it's not looking good for because Busby immediately when this came out, he has a history of being fighting. Let's just say sometimes he's got to win. So I don't know if you know Deshaun Watson, Dan. Deshaun Watson is the American football player who had numerous sexual assault cases. Then he settled all of them. A lot of the accusers were using Tony Busby. Tony Busby is also someone that had been taken to court because someone who is supposed to be representing says that he was representing in a divorce case. And she says she was assaulted by him. He shoved a champagne flute in her mouth, chipped her tooth, and lost the case anyway. Also, he's been known to have inconsistencies. Most recently, yesterday, I don't know if you know this, Dan, but a John Doe went on CNN, who's represented by Tony Busby, to speak about his sexual assault at the hands of P. Diddy. And throughout the interview, as the story was being detailed, I counted in the press reports 6 major inconsistencies with what this person recounted and what actually happened based on public information. So my question there is, right, a client can come to you and say, yo, this is what I remember. As a lawyer, surely it's your job to be like, okay, these are the facts that you presented to us. Before we go public with them, let's check the veracity of these statements so that if you are misremembering, we address it here so that when we take this public or take it to court or take it to a judge, we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's. And that's where my concern is here. I don't know Jay-Z from a can of paint. I don't know that man's character. I love his music. One of my favorite rappers. Do I want to believe he raped a 13-year-old? Of course not. But if he did, the full might of the law should come down on him. But at the same time, it should not be as easy as it is for Twitter detectives to start saying, but wait a minute. Like, and this isn't just she's lying. It's like, yo, you saying they were at a house party, but they're here and they're here. How quickly were Jay-Z and Diddy moving on this night? Under what circumstances did you meet these limo drivers? How did you meet these limo drivers? You say your father picked you up after this, but there's no mention in the court filing. Granted, it may not be our business, but it would be nice to know. Did you admit that you were assaulted? Did you keep it a secret from your father? What was done thereafter? You know, there's so many holes in the story. Obviously, Jay-Z knew this was coming because he admitted that he had been approached already. I'm sure he chose to write that statement, or his team chose to write the statement and make it look like he wrote it himself.
There ain't no team, no ways. That like for the 4 DJs you're talking about, no ways.
No. I do feel that Jay-Z sees everything, right? However, I don't think Jay-Z has the Rock Nation account on his Instagram on his phone. So clearly that thing had to be typed and then sent to someone, and he phoned him and said, post this. You know what I mean? So in essence, that is still your team, even if it's a lackey who has no say so.
So, okay, here's a potential scenario. And I sort of already alluded to it. There are a lot of shady lawyers whose entire MO is, if I have even just a little bit of something, okay, I can make sure. So the allegations, this is what happened with Michael Jackson, that from a civil perspective, Michael Jackson had to fight these allegations of, you know, playing around with little boys and whatever. He had to fight this in court. And that cost him so much money because he had to stop touring. That cost so much in terms of his reputation. even to this date, it's a huge discussion. But when it became a criminal case, by the way, he was cleared of all charges. But the stain that came through from the civil lawsuit still hangs on around him. And when he went for the first one, he ended up settling for like over $20 million or whatever it was, right? And what that did is everyone who felt even the potential of, I might be able to get something here, because they didn't wait to prove it or not to prove it. They just calculated, how much money have we lost because of this lawsuit? Is it over $20 million? It's over $20 million. It's better for us to just pay the $20 million and we move on. So then the next person is like, damn, I can get $20 million? I'm going to threaten a lawsuit. And then now his team is going to be like, we're going to have to go through all that again? Just offer the man $20 million. So I do think there's a scenario possible of this guy who's got this weird reputation, Mr. Busby, of Jay-Z is currently he's a billionaire. His wife is a billionaire. They are sitting on the top of Black excellence lists all over the world. Beyonce has just been announced as the Billboard artist of what was it, like pop artist of the decade or whatever it was. Jay-Z is in this deal with the NFL. Jay-Z is also in all these different huge mega deals. For him, he can't afford to have his reputation damaged by a lawsuit, by us going into court and the court of public opinion. So even if there's no truth to something that I file, he's just going to settle. It's easier. So as long as I have even just a tiny little piece of evidence of something, I can approach, send this letter and say, hey, man, I know you don't want this to go to court. What can you give my client? So I do think there's a possibility of that happening. That having been said, I don't want to completely dismiss the possibility of, well, celebrities are bad people. And if you for a second think that Jay-Z all his life has lived by some strict code, man, get out of here.
No, that was ill-advised. That was such an ill-advised
Get out of here.
That's I'm a young man, you're 55.
Get out of here, man.
So what code did you live by? You sold crack.
You sold crack. So you had an age limit. I was like, let me see your ID before I sell you crack. Get out of here, man.
So when did this code step in? Before or after the Best of Both Worlds tour?
And the other thing is, right, okay, so sometimes we're very dishonest. Jay-Z was here, a man in his late 20s who was moving on a 17, 18-year-old Beyonce. Now we sit here and we say that's messed up. I promise you 20 years ago, the general zeitgeist of people were not saying that.
Of course, it happened in public.
I remember thinking it was weird because we were watching, do you remember How I Met Your Mother? Barney Stinson's whole shtick was that he's in his 30s and he doesn't date anyone who's not 18. I remember thinking like, yo, that's kind of, but that was the joke. That was I only go for the premium. You know what I'm saying? You have to be, if you're 20,
barely legal.
If you're 20, it's like, ew, you're too old. And that he was written in as a character who was a little over the top, but the idea was he only goes for 8. That was the zeitgeist at the time. So if you tell me that back in the year 2000, a 28-year-old was moving on an 18-year-old, I agree, that's messed up. Or 30-something, I think maybe he was in his 30s. So yes, that is messed up. But let's not pretend like back then that wasn't viewed as the norm.
It was a different time, Dad. It was a different time.
It is messed up, but that was viewed as, and then we sit over
We
here
used
like,
the N-word like hello back then. It was fine.
Of course now, if we're talking about 16-year-olds and 15-year-olds and 13-year-olds, now that's straight up. I mean, it's pedophilia. Well, whatever the correct word is, because I think pedophilia is supposed to be for prepubescence. But the point is, it's messed up. So I think let's wait to hear more details.
Oh,
But
of course you don't wait and see, Dan. Psst, you apologist.
But as it stands here, I must say, I find it very difficult to buy this whole story. Shady lawyer who's trying to get some money. It's very clear.
Wait, we're finding what story are you finding out to buy? Jay-Z's or Tony's?
Tony's. I'm finding it very hard to buy Tony's story.
Especially after this whole thing on CNN blowing up in his face. I think it was very ill-timed.
And on top of that, there were a lot of people, and I'm sure the PR machine is an overdrive on behalf of Jay-Z right now.
No, the Jay-Z. Oh, did you not see all the accounts already detailing?
I saw, I was there on the night, I did this, da-da-da. People are pulling out Instagram comments from blah, blah, blah. People are pulling out photos that were posted in magazines. And I completely understand that. And it's going to be very difficult to see what the actual truth is. But I'm just saying, it seems so difficult. And I also understand why Jane Doe here is moving anonymous. I get it.
Yeah, I think, and that's also the mistake Jay-Z has made, because that appeal that he made to the judge for Jane Doe to become public was very poorly thought out. Because we know why victims want to remain anonymous. And I think trying to force them to do that, even if, let's just play devil's advocate here and say, yo, someone is coming at you, these are wrongful accusations, you feel upset, you disgusted, you want to expose these liars, these people that are dragging your name through the mud. At a certain point, you got to take a step back and be like, okay, wait, what's the public perception of this? How does this look?
But you see, that's what Tony is counting on. That's what Busby is counting on. I assume in this situation that you are going to have to worry about what is the public perception. So I can move anyway, but you can't. Now, I also think 13-year-old should absolutely not have their identity out there.
But keep in mind, this was 24 years ago.
So she's in her late 30s. What is she now? In her late 30s? 37. She's now 37. I completely understand why you would be afraid to put yourself out there. This is a powerful man who's got fans, maybe even like deranged stands, and it puts you in danger for your name to be out there. But you are publicly accusing this man of rape. It's messed up, but you kind of can't have both. You know what I mean? You can't, okay, I need to protect myself, and you're publicly accusing this very public man. Your name's going to come out anyway, but now you've already sort of, you have to, I would assume the lawyer would understand that you're also playing the public game here. Court of public opinion, how people in general feel. And it's not yet a criminal case, but I'm sure the DA is paying close attention to how things are moving, just like what happened with Diddy. I mean, it started off as a civil case with Cassie. I'm sure there were a lot of other things that I'm not fully aware of, but then it became a criminal case. I am sure that there's very high stakes for public perception here. I get it, but I'm sorry, you can't be anonymous.
I would give victims more grace there. I would say this. I do think, and I understand because of everything. The reason why we, for example, have the mantra believe victims is it's so slanted against victims. It's so difficult for them to come forward. There has to be some protections in place, because even if the law isn't on your side, or even if the law is on your side, public opinion is not. And fans are going to ridicule you. Patriarchy is going to destroy your life. So you need some protection there. What I do believe is if it is proven that your case has no merit and has malice, then by all means, everything must be exposed. Because there has to be some form of, not retribution is the wrong word, but there has to be some sort of punishment for the court not only not finding merit to your claims, but finding that they were actually produced with malice. I think that has to be done. So that's what I believe. I don't believe you should.
Yeah, but that would be so difficult. You can't prove malice.
No. What I'm saying is, like when something's dismissed with contempt.
I get you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So there's two things to look at. Okay. In the one scenario, and we don't know the truth of the situation. In the one scenario, this poor girl really went through this harrowing experience at 13. Yes, maybe she forgot a couple of details, something that happened 24 years ago. She's trying to remember all the details, but she went through trauma, man. Things are hard to remember. It's, I feel so much for her, because she's had to live 2 decades plus with this trauma that's happened, and see this man thrive and be praised. And, and you're thinking, like, after what he did to me, and then here's this opportunity you finally have, but you're like scared, and you're like, okay, I need to hide myself because I know how powerful this man is. But are you telling me it's possible? And this lawyer says, I tell you, you know what? You won't even have to face him in court. We're going to settle out of court. What we're going to do at least is get you some money. That's the least we can do out of this whole situation. So I'm going to write a letter of demand. Happens all the time. We do this with celebrities all the time. I'm famous for it. Look me up. That's a very plausible scenario, which I think is possible. And then the difference is Jay-Z's response wasn't, damn, I don't want this to be out there. Damn, I don't want, fine, here's some money, da-da-da. His response was, let's take this to court. And then now you're in this situation. I'm sure she's freaking out right now if that's, if that's actually what happened, the scenario. The second scenario is, maybe there's malice. Maybe it's not even malice. Maybe it's a vague memory of a drunken night where I know someone violated me. I think Jay-Z was there. I don't know, maybe or not. And the lawyer's like, when you say you think, like how sure? Let me say 60%. Let's go. We can get money. You know what I'm saying? There's a possibility of that as well. And I don't want to blame her for that. She's sitting there thinking like, someone violated me. I think it was Jay-Z. I don't remember the full details. I went through trauma. I'm not really sure what happened. And then now you're chasing it. Or maybe there's malice. Maybe there's just like, what, you telling me we can get some money out of this? All right, let's go.
I think you actually touched on something that Torre brought up on his podcast. And he says he's spoken to people that were actual victims of Diddy. And he says what people sometimes forget is when Diddy was doing these horrible things, he was drugging people.
Yeah.
So their whole worldview is skewed because they don't remember what happened. They just know something. Something bad happened. So what you said is very valid. It may very well be that this person doesn't really remember what happened, and maybe they're trying to piece the story together, or through prompting, someone is piecing it together on their behalf. And in the effort to do so, details are now left. And that's a sad thing because going back to the initial part of this conversation, when you're piecing that story together, as a lawyer, I would assume it's your duty to your client to be like, listen, let's make sure we put together an ironclad case. I understand this is traumatic, this is painful, but we're going up against some important people here. I want to make sure that your life isn't ruined by doing this. You've done a brave thing. I'm on your side, right? Let's make sure we do it. We have to make sure we come correct. Because when you have cracks in your story like this, it doesn't do them any favors, yo.
Yeah. And again, we say our mantra is to believe the victim. And the reason for that is because most of the time the victim is telling the truth. Yes, once in a while there are the rare odd occurrences where it's a shakedown, completely understand. But I would rather be mistaken and be like, damn, I believed you and it turns out you were trying to get money. Rather than I didn't believe you and you were going through, do you know what I mean? So in this situation, the problem is I know nothing about, all I know is there's a lawyer who's well known for trying to get settlements from celebrities. It's very difficult for me to believe the lawyer. Do you get what I mean? When it should be believe the victim. So right now what we have is lawyer versus Jay-Z.
And that's the other thing that I don't like about Busby. Busby has put himself front and center.
Maybe it's a noble thing. Maybe he's trying to protect the identity of the victim. But
he's been doing this since the Deshaun case. Like right now, it's blowing up in his face on the CNN thing. I don't want to play the whole video because it'll detract the conversation. But you should watch the CNN press release.
Which is why I say I completely understand the desire for anonymity. But if you're serious about this, you have to.
You ought to be like that, the French woman.
Yeah, the one whose husband like.
Did we discuss it on the podcast?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, that story still shakes me.
It's a heavy. Anyway, so that's the situation with Jay-Z. It's obviously a developing situation.
Yeah. Speaking about deplorable people, Andrew Schultz.
Why are we still talking about that man?
No, I bring it up because Dan, I don't think I'm smarter than the average bear. In fact, I do, but not that smart. I mean, if I was smart, I'd be living a more comfortable life. But I haven't liked the cut of Andrew Schultz jib for about 10 years. And one thing that he's always done is he's always continued to remind me why I don't like the cut of his jib. And we even had a discussion in the podcast just after the Fuhad and what's his name? James and Fuhad brew ha. And I was just like, yeah, Andrew Schultz, no, I don't like that guy. And people are like, no, he's funny. You don't understand. He's humorous. He's an edgy comedian. He's pushing the boundaries of comedy. And I was like, yeah, whatever, but he's an asshole.
I have an unpopular take. Careful.
Shoot.
I don't like Andrew Schultz. When I was first getting into podcasting, one of the recommended podcasts was Brilliant Idiots. I listened to a few episodes and I was like, some takes are interesting, some discussions are interesting, but I would always end every episode just annoyed. You know what I'm saying? Irritated, because I felt like there's a difference between like jokes and humor, and then like you're also like your whole thing is just being mean-spirited. That's your whole thing, which is different to dark humor or jokes or whatever. Like you're just mean-spirited, and Anyway, so I eventually stopped listening to that podcast. Charlemagne also just seemed dumb. That's the other. He just seems dumb, and he probably isn't. But I just felt like.
Do you know okay, I was gonna say. You know the wild thing is, had Kamala Harris won the election, I'm pretty sure Charlemagne would have gotten the job in her regime. The way he was positioning himself, he might. I don't think he would have got a press secretary, but he was trying.
Zimbabwe has hit you hard. Regime.
Regime.
Anyway, so my point is, I'm coming back to this point. So the unpopular take that I have is, as much as I personally don't like Andrew Schultz, I find it hard to. I think all comedy should exist.
I agree with you 100%.
So I find, as much as I personally don't like him, I find it hard to think that he shouldn't exist or he should be cancelled or that people shouldn't listen to him.
And I don't think he should be cancelled either. That's not what I'm saying at all.
Yeah.
I believe every comedian, any entertainer, any person, even us as podcasters, we find our audience, right? We imbue the values we hope are reflected in our audience.
Mm-hmm. Or they could be haters. People who have the opposite values and they're only listening because of being haters.
But they'll hate because it's the opposite. They'll know. We would be shocked if we were seen out and people were like, oh, that's Dan and Phil from the podcast. And then they just started going on some misogynistic rant because it wouldn't reflect what we try to put out in the world. So whatever Andrew Schultz wants to joke about is fine. Anyway, let's give people the backstory because maybe people don't know. Well, actually, we played it yesterday. Last week, Whacked Out Murals. There's a line Kendrick says there that don't let no white comedian talk bad about black women. That's law. Right? So, very open-ended line, but a hit dog will holler. You could imbue or figure out what he was trying to say. One of the examples is obviously the recent James and Fuhad brouhaha, and people were like, he must be talking about Andrew Schultz. I personally understood that line to not be a shot at Andrew Schultz, but to be a shot at Charlemagne and all the black people sitting around Andrew Schultz, giggling and cackling while he says nonsense about black people.
To me, it's almost obvious that that's what it is. It could be at Charlemagne. It could be at James and Fuhad. It could be at anyone who's like around. But Andrew is probably the subject of the discussion, but this wasn't directed at you. In fact, you're not in this conversation.
Exactly.
You are by the side there. I'm talking to my boys right now that you shouldn't let that guy speak that way about black women.
And once again, it's not a call to violence. It's not just like when he speaks about them, punch him in the face. It's a simple call. Why are you saying that? Why do you feel? Why would you say that?
Why does that feel weird? Imagine I say to Phil, like, Phil Barry, you can't let that guy speak that way about your wife, or about your girl, or about your mom. It's normal conversation, right? If we are not there, you can speak about. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say about whoever you want to say. But if I'm around, or if you're around, surely you shouldn't feel comfortable enough to say that kind of stuff.
And if so, why? You know.
It feels very straightforward to me, but yeah.
Very straightforward. But weirdly enough, Andrew Schultz then took this opportunity to respond and say, well, you see, rappers, they always respect black women. They say the B word and the rapings and the violence and the this and the that. And all the black and white people were like, oh, you're so funny. Adolf Schultz, you're hilarious.
Edgy humor, dark humor. You guys just don't get it. That's the problem.
And then he continues to not only insult hip hop, which to me is doubly frustrating because Andrew Schultz's black fan base is because of hip hop. Andrew Schultz, part of his popularity. Oh, he is popular amongst white people, but he also has popularity amongst hip hop fans because of his association with Charlemagne and his endorsements from hip hop people like 50 Cent, for example. So hip hop is fine when you're endorsed by these people. Keep in mind, you have all these things to say about hip hop, but you never had anything to say about 50 Cent. Are you familiar with his body of work? Are you familiar with what he tweets? Are you familiar with his homophobia? Make it make sense. So you say this, and then to cap it all off, you then say that you would grape you'd grape Kendrick Lamar because he's too small to fight back. Maybe I'm not funny, Dan. That's why I haven't sold out Madison Square Garden. I don't get the joke.
And it's okay. Someone else gets the joke.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, It's like a clear, like, come on, bro, that's not, like, you could have been clever about it. You could have been.
I don't think you wanted to be, though.
No, but you could have been like, okay, here's a situation where you made some derogatory jokes about black women, and your position is this, and I make derogatory jokes about everyone, black women
And
included.
you could have said it that, like, literally, that could be, guys, it's just jokes taken too seriously. Left it at that.
Cool, but maybe you're deciding that, hey, I'm a comedian, I can turn this into a funny situation. Let me expand on it. And the way you decided to do that is, if I wanted to rape Kendrick Lamar, I could. That's your goat. That's your dark humor edgelord. All right. Anyway,
so that happens. Obviously, weirdly enough, somehow people are divided with their opinions, which is weird. But anyway, brain rot was the word of the year, by the way, Dan. Just felt like saying that again. But the wild part, which I find quite interesting, is Charlemagne still has not been called to task.
now who would call him stars?
I would hope the people that made Charlemagne as popular as he
They
is.
love that man. They'll never.
But the thing is, Charlemagne is not particularly funny or intelligent. He's got oversized teeth. Why do Americans always get the extra large teeth?
Okay, well, you see, we're now being. Look, it's almost 9 o'clock. We had a hard.
Oh yeah, which reminds me, I also want to talk about a few things. But anyway, so Andrew Schultz, what's our closing verdict there, Dan?
My closing verdict there is, before this whole scenario, I would have given him a certain element or a certain level of, you know what? He's probably a smart, witty comedian, and I just don't like the fact that he's so mean-spirited. And I don't
Andrew
like
Schultz was smart.
I was willing to give a certain level of, he must have some level of wit to him. And he is able to translate that into humor, and people love it. And he's just, his style, he just goes in directions that I'm not happy with, and that's not for me, but I'm sure there's other people who like it. But after this, I no longer have that, though. I now think he's just not smart enough.
He's
just
dead to you.
He's just, I don't care. I don't care enough for me to feel that. But I just feel like he's just clearly not that. He's not that. I'm not a comedian, right? But neither is Andrew, in my opinion. So it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Very quick, I wanted to ask your opinion on this UHC, United Healthcare CEO shooting. Okay, quick overview.
Dude, if you don't know, I don't know where you've been.
Luigi.
It's a me, Luigi.
Long story short, there was CCTV footage of the CEO of one of the biggest the biggest healthcare company in America. It's called United Healthcare. It's the equivalent of CMAS in America. And he's the CEO.
That's quite apt, actually.
and he got shot dead in broad daylight in the morning by some guy who was wearing a hood and a mask and whatever the case is, right? And you can see in the CCTV footage, there's like little angles of his face, and everyone was like, what? This is insane. But the weird thing is that many people were celebrating because he's the CEO of a health insurance company that was famous for denying claims. So lots of people had stories about, my son died, my daughter died, my grandpa died, my uncle died, because these guys refused to give us coverage, even though we had been paying for medical aid, for health insurance. Anyway, so people celebrated, and they were like, damn, this is our new hero, and they were all debates. That's kind of what I want to get into, like debates about, is it right, is it wrong, et cetera, et cetera.
Is it right or wrong for what?
We'll get into it. Anyway, long story short, they now say that they discovered the killer. His name is Luigi, with some Italian surname, I forgot it now. Mangione or something like that.
Mm-hmm. It actually is.
Yeah, and he's number one suspect. Apparently, he was snitched on because he was eating a burger in McDonald's 3 days later. So they found him with the same clothes and a gun and his backpack. And they arrested him, and now he's in custody, and they're asking him questions.
Just so clear. So what happened was, the CEO of United,
Brian Thompson,
was in New York for an annual
convention. Yes.
He was arriving at the hotel early in the morning.
$80 billion company, I believe.
He was arriving early. So obviously, a high value individual like this would have some form of security, but at this brief moment, he was without security. Mm-hmm. Somehow Luigi figured out where he would be, what time he would be there.
My apologies. $500 billion company.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
How dare you? So Luigi figured out where he would be.
Dropping steadily. Sorry, continue.
Luigi figured out where he would be. And then walked up on him with a gun with a silencer, by the way, shot at him from distance with a silencer. As you guys may know, silencers reduce accuracy. The gun jammed. He somehow fixed the gun jamming, did not panic, continued to walk up on the CEO, shot him again at point blank range, then walked off, hopped on a bike, rode into Central Park, lost all traces. So all the tracking and surveillance systems, the same surveillance systems that picked up the shooting, were unable to track him after he entered Central Park. The last known sighting was probably Port Authority, where this man caught a bus. People were like, he's gone in the wind. So this man was smart enough to pull off
assassination with like Jason Bourne levels.
Pretty much. A Jason Bourne assassination, disappeared into the wind. He pulled all this off, got all the information on how to get the target, how to take him out, successfully completed the hit, disappeared into the wind. And a few days later was spotted at a McDonald's. Even though his face had been made allegedly due to up to recent reports because he had been flirting with a worker at a hostel where he was staying. And still had the weapon.
His fingerprints were on it. Even though in the video he was wearing gloves.
Fingerprints were on it. Still had the weapon. Still had the same backpack. Also had a manifesto of over 1.5 pages. Which, guys, let's be honest. That's a memo. Okay? That's not a manifesto.
It's an iPhone.
It's an iPhone notes release. It's a press release. A manifesto requires chapters. Then also happened to have the manifesto of the Unabomber. I don't know if you noticed, if you saw that in the reports. What's at the Unabomber's report? And then in his letter, first line was, "Yo, thanks to the police, y'all, you know what I mean? I don't want to waste your time or nothing. Y'all doing amazing."
All right, Phil. I know you want to go down the route of conspiracy theory.
I'm not going down the route. I'm presenting the facts.
Yeah,
as
I
they
hear
are.
you. All
I'm saying is, much like it's like Busby wrote this.
Okay, this is obviously such a huge story with so many directions we could go. There's a whole conversation about the conspiracy, what's happening here. I want to go the different direction, which was the big debate that was going on about murdered who? Here's the thought process here was this CEO of this company was responsible for a company that could be directly linked to many people's deaths. Therefore, it wasn't a bad thing for him to lose his life. Whereas others would argue, well, no, it's not like he didn't do it personally. He didn't deny cover personally, and they have to run a business. And for that business to make sense, obviously some people are going to have to be denied, and it's not right to murder him because of that. So there was this whole debate. And I thought it'd be interesting to hear from your perspective. Luigi, bad guy or good guy? Good guy or bad guy, Phil?
I think it's evident if he did do it, Luigi's a murderer.
Okay. Phil is not brave enough to say it. I'll say it. I'll go out in public and I'll say something that I never thought I'd say. And I don't care if this cancels me. This podcast is over.
Look, Dan the capitalist is about to make a big grand entrance.
I think murder is bad. There, I said it. I said it, guys. If you're coming for me, come for me. Okay.
There's a great discussion on Bomani Jones' podcast with Dominique Foxworth. And he was like, sometimes people forget that you might be doing the right thing in your mind. And you may be justified in thinking you're doing the right thing. But ultimately, you're doing a bad thing. Sometimes let's not forget, you're doing a bad thing. You may be stealing bread because you are hungry and you need to feed your family. But ultimately, stealing bread, based on the mores we live by, is not good.
I also think, okay, so that having been said, right, of course I understand. Like, you can't expect that the game is rigged to amplify people's suffering and they'll all just like sort of just chill there and just be like, oh no, the rule of law must continue. Of course, stuff's going to happen. So also, frankly, I'm just waiting for the call. Either if I get rich, then let's abandon this whole eat the rich thing, guys. But if not, Let me know when it happens. Let me know what time, place.
Then what will you be contributing to the revolution? Tell us. Like, what's your skill set?
I will be sending fire tweets to encourage everyone from the safety of my penthouse. You'll have to get everyone else first before you reach me. And if by then there's no more rich people, I don't want to live in this world anymore. Eat me.
Because what is the point of living?
What is the point of living if I can't profit off the backs of the masses, the great Mongol hordes, the great unwashed? Anyway, all right.
That's why they never gave you money. That's why.
They knew.
The Lord knew. If I give this man money,
Okay, Phil. Let's do very quick gagagas and we get out of here.
Gary, I stay here.
Well, I mean, out of the podcast. Hey, we were waiting for this whole TikTok ban to happen. January 19 was the deadline. Next week.
It's happening next week. Then do you know how calendars work?
Today's the 12th. Oh wait, no, it's December. Sorry. Okay. No, I'm washed. I'm cooked. So anyway, some people tried to overturn it. Some people tried to be like, nah, let's stop it. And then there was a panel of three, okay, let me rephrase. There was a lawsuit that was hoping to introduce, or rather to overturn the bill, the Divesto ban bill that was put against TikTok, ByteDance rather, the owner of TikTok, and a panel of judges ruled unanimously against it. Which means
just some coffee. Then just some coffee.
I'm struggling. 19 January, TikTok is going to be sold or banned. I don't think it's going to be sold, which means it's going to be banned. Is there going to be the political will to follow through on the ban? Well, 20 January, Trump comes into office.
But also, it's gone to the Supreme Court. It's now almost out of his hands.
Yeah. Okay. My point is not whether the law will pass. The law will pass. Oh yeah, TikTok should not operate in America. How much effort are they going to put into enforcing that? Shut down any local servers, but everyone's still going to download the app. Oh no, take it off the app store. Get a VPN.
I think they'll have to because it'll be embarrassing. It'll be really embarrassing.
For who? For the previous administration?
The people, them.
For the previous administration? That's what I'm saying. There's a new administration coming in. So how much political will they have to enforce a bill that, I mean, it originally started with the Trump administration, but then it was only really pushed through by Biden. So I imagine that Trump will come in and say, no, I don't believe it. I think it's wrong. I'm going to fight it to the death. And don't forget, the Supreme Court is Trump fans.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Either way, there's no ban on Africa. So I am still there watching Troy Shepherds.
There's music news.
No, let's look at the Boomplay situation is actually quite interesting. So,
okay, tell me.
So Boomplay, I think we discussed it. Boomplay is actually one of the biggest streaming platforms, the biggest streaming platform
in Africa.
But that's because it comes on technophones mainly. So it is in Zimbabwe. If you have a technophone, it comes in with Boomplay pre-installed, and that's how they grew so big. What they don't have in Zim is partnerships with telcos, where in East and West Africa they do. So you'll get your technophone, it'll have Boomplay pre-installed, and then if you want to get Boomplay streaming, they'll just take like 0.25% from your airtime every week, and bam, you've got access to all the music. There had already been some issues behind the scenes. I don't know how much I can share, but we knew things were about to get rocky with Boomplay. Philip Choi left, and the moment he leaves, things fall apart. Sony now say that they're taking their music off Boomplay for lack of royalty payments. Will the other two major labels follow suit? Probably, but yet to be determined. Or will they get more funding? So Boomplay received about $20 million, I believe it was in 2019. They've been trying to raise more money now, but they haven't been able to monetize their audience. Obviously, that capital raise will go off to paying off the royalties that they owe to these rights holders, but it's unlikely that they'll be able to raise that money. So it looks like Boomplay might not be long for this world, which if you've been listening and following to us for a while, you know that it's a bit of a concern because we need competition. And as Spotify continues to get control of the streaming market, it's not great for artists because they're paying less and less to artists and they're diversifying their content. They're actually now paying content creators before they pay artists based on their new creator program. So interesting times ahead.
Yeah. So what is Boomplay? Are they broke? What?
I wouldn't say that. They're experiencing some cash flow difficulties, much like us.
Okay. In the realm of music, I watched Doechie's Tiny Desk performance. I watched her performance
How was
on
it?
the Colbert Show. Incredible, amazing. I've become such a huge fan. I liked her music already, but just seeing her live performances, Doechie's amazing. But this obviously led to a whole conversation about, hey, share about her Twitter. Hey, why is she being all? Why is she rapping like she's trying to get the slaves freed? Because she's very.
No one said that. No common sense said that. I know who said the bots.
Philip.
Then who speaks like that?
First of all, Drake. Second of all, it's all over. It's all over. Anyway, so she put out a statement where she was like, listen, guys, our music has always been deep. It's always been complex. It's always been soulful and spiritual. We use hip hop to evolve. This is directly on her Twitter, on her X. Sorry, I just lost it. Yeah. We use hip hop to evolve, to protest, to celebrate, etc. Art music plays a role in why a lot of us are proud to be black today. Our culture is all through these genres. Don't let these people brainwash you into disconnecting from the soul of hip hop by convincing you it isn't cool or it's too deep. It's always been that deep for us and it should stay that way. We created it. Once we lose the soul, we've lost the genre. Nobody should be redefining our art form but us. Anybody talking ish about hip hop that makes you think or makes you feel something should immediately be recognized as an op. Ask yourself what they gain from us watering down our music, taking the soul out, only discussing surface level topics and becoming less conscious. Only a specific group of people benefit from us not being introspective. Tighten up. Thank you, Doechie.
Speak on a queen.
Words. So, I mean, clearly there were a lot of people talking about it that she had to put out a statement. So it was a thing.
These OVO bots are getting out of control.
But yeah, no, I highly recommend. Go watch that Doechie Tiny Desk. She was dope, man. It was just a vibe. It was just, I loved it. And then her performance on the Colbert Show was like, it was almost like a spoken words / art piece performance type thing. I was
She's out of here. I told you then. I told you TD got one.
shout out to Doechie, man. She's dope. She's dope.
Shout out to TDE, bruh.
Top dog.
And Punch.
I
I have shaken his hand, just to let you know, Dan.
Punch. That's beautiful.
He's a very big man.
Quick thing on TV, Phil.
Oh, yes. We were discussing it in the Patreon group. I mentioned it briefly last week, and it seemed you would not. I need to dig deeper. I need to get to the heart of the matter.
This caused problems in my marriage. I won't lie to you. I was at home. I was doing some work. So I figured, let me put something light on the television. And my wife was there. She was like, all right, what you putting on? We started watching Love Never Lies. It was within 15 minutes, my laptop was on the side and my jaw was on the floor. What the hell am I watching? Anyway, we didn't finish the whole thing because my wife got so angry. She was specifically angry at Nancy. Nancy's the one who is dating Bohlale, who slept with the Mia.
Oh, was that the one, the 3 seconds?
Yes.
And then he went to the river.
I don't remember that. Anyway, we didn't watch all the episodes because she said that we're just going to skip to the reunion because this thing is making me angry.
Oh, it was making her angry.
Yeah, it was making her very
That's
upset.
the same thing. I was asking madam, like, why are you upset? Why are you watching this?
She was physically, visibly angry.
Oh my gosh, was she literally shaking? Was she literally
was literally shaking. And I was like, why are you taking out your anger on me? It's not me. It's like, you're all Bohlales. All of you are the same. I was like, yo, what the hell? Why are we still watching this show?
So, no, but break it down. Okay, what happened on this show then? Break down the premise of the show. What happened?
Okay.
Give us the breakdown.
So the show is called Love Never Lies. The premise of this show is if you're a couple you've got something, you're struggling, whatever you want to come down to the truth, you come onto this show. What they're going to do on this show is they're going to test your relationship. In the midst of that relationship, they're going to use a lie detector as well. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions and you must be truthful. Those answers are not going to be revealed immediately, but as you go through the journey of the show, the truth using this lie detector system is going to be revealed. In the meantime, they're going to be you go in knowing they're going to test our relationship. So how they tested the relationship is once you come in, they go through one round like what's the one thing about your partner that you really want to know and what it is. So they're trying to learn what is the problem in each relationship, right? So there's several people. So for example, there was the bad bads. I forgot their names. I think the one is called Monaka and the guy. Their whole thing was she felt that, you know, he's like too immature and blah, 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 blah. Then there was another couple who the girl is like, I know my man went on a boys' trip and he insists nothing happened, but I know something happened on that trip. So the first session, they sit on this lie detector thing and my man, his name's Kuda. They ask him, was there anything sexual that happened on this boys' trip? So he says yes. And it turns out he was telling the truth. And she's like, I knew it, his babe. The question was so open sexual. It was just like dancing. And then there's another couple, Sia and Pretty. Pretty is a very domineering, loud, abrasive, aggressive woman. And Sia is submissive, meek man. And everyone's looking at him like, yo, you can't let her keep treating. She kept on saying like, he's not my type. I normally date men that are richer, taller, better looking than him. But, you know, I love him. And everyone's like, that's not a nice thing to say. Anyway, so what happens is they had this first session, right? And it sort of reveals what the deep issue is in each couple. There was a gay couple where the one guy flirts too much with other men. And then there was a they-them pansexual, polyamorous, polygamous. It was very complex. It wasn't polyamorous because it was only polygamous, but it was weird, complex like that. Anyway, and then so their issue was at first the other party was like, I'm cool with it, but really she wasn't cool with it. So they all reveal what their deep issues are. So now their relationships are going to get tested. So they get separated. There's two villas, one Villa Umjolo, one Villa Umgo. In Villa Umjolo, they have a grand old time. They introduce a bunch of singles who seem to have been carefully selected. I don't know why honestly, that was prostitution, but it looks like they were carefully selected for each individual person that this is your person now who's going to come targeting you. And they go in there and it seems like their goal is to try and, you know, puzzle the relationship. And then in the other villa, owns are chilling and every night they're just watching clips of what their people were getting up to. And then after several days, they switch. In meantime, the whole time, you know, lies are being revealed. People must tell what happened. You must spend some money. By the way, there's a big pot of money to be won by the couple that tells the least lies throughout the whole experience. But every time you lie, money gets taken away from the pot.
There's a collective pot. So every pot, I mean, it's 500,000.
Yes.
And for every lie, they take 10. For every truth,
they add 10.
They add 10.
And then there's also a couple other challenges
and
along the way.
The couples that lie the least win the money.
Yes. Yeah. The couple that... So then there's challenges along the way. Like, so for example, we're going to show you the free version of what your partner did. But if you want to unlock the full version, you have to pay some money.
That show is so evil.
From the pot. Anyway, so as you can imagine, some people are completely wild. Like this Kuda dude, bruh. You know, does he forget the cameras are on or whatever?
That was my question. Is how do you forget the cameras are on? Because you can have a moment of lapse, right? But that evening, when they call into the confessional room, do you not step back and like, oh snap, there are people here. Oh snap, I'm being watched.
He was literally begging for cuddles from his single, and she was like, no. And it's like embarrassing. And
that's what. It's one thing to be caught cheating in HD. It's one thing to be caught cheating and striking out.
But then also, like, you guys are also not serious about your relationship because you're telling me that you have a single sleeping in your bed for 4 nights or whatever it is, and you must be strong. Like, why would you even subject yourself to that? That's just poor.
Well, are there no couches in this villa?
some decided that, you know what, we're going to put pillows in between us on this bed. Others decided I'll sleep on the floor or whatever the case is. But others were like,
Yegadero.
let's go.
But sometimes cuddles are important. And the scientific research has shown that cuddles are really good for depression.
You see, the problem is, what made me angry was the gaslighting that was then being used was poor. It's angering to see gaslighting. It's even more angering to see bad gaslighting. Like, you couldn't even, come on, man. We're on a TV show. Anyway, what trash television that I regret watching. Can't wait for season 2. All right, I feel let's wrap up. Let's get out of here. There's a couple other things, but
No, there's a few things we need to discuss.
I'll leave you to discuss them.
I'm not discussing the Papoose thing. It's hilarious, though. But in that vein, Dan, do you watch Hustle and Flow?
The movie, yes, I watched it.
No, the TV show.
No, I didn't watch the TV show.
Season 2 of Hustle and Flow.
Well, you can't talk about it because I haven't watched it.
Watch it, then we'll talk about it.
Is it good?
Watch it, then we'll talk about it. I watched season 1.
No.
Season 1 was good. Season 1 was actually really good.
Is it a reality show?
Yeah, it's like Idols, but for hip hop.
I don't think I can introduce any new reality shows.
Eminem is on the season
for at least three weeks or so.
Eminem is on season 2.
I can't introduce any new reality shows. Maybe documentaries. Yeah, things are tense there after that TV show. It was not good. Things are tense.
Architect of your own demise.
All right. Let's wrap it up. I need to get out of here. I think we've got one more episode before break.
It depends if our producer responds.
Yeah,
if anyone has seen our producer, please call our hotline.
We were supposed to have a guest this week, actually, but hopefully we'll get him next week. Pretty cool story.
We'll get DLC. Let's just go upstairs in the interview.
Yeah, we should bank those for a very dry January.
Yeah, because Asia need a break, Dan. I'm tired.
Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you. We thank you so much for being with us. A slightly different episode, recorded in different circumstances, but we hope you still enjoyed the discussion.
That's nice. It's good vibes. I liked it.
Yeah. Hey, if you have some takes and some thoughts, a great place to share them? In our Patreon group. The Two Broke Twimbos patron group is a dope group where there's activity. We had a couple of patrons join us, and all these things that you hear us talking about here, there's already discussions happening in the group. So
live.
We're going to continue those. If you want to be part of the Two Broke Twimbos patron group, all you have to do is become a patron. The minimum amount is $5 per month, but you can pay more than that if you like. And easy peasy. $5 per month.
Lemon squeeze.
You're a Two Broke Twimbos patron. We add you to the group. You get exclusive access to certain things. Sometimes you can join the episode. Sometimes we do like calls within the group. Sometimes we try to get celebrities involved. And sometimes if we're going to do merch launches, which we are working on right now, it was going to start in the group. But the real value is just supporting a podcast that that will continue going. And we need you. So please don't abandon us during the December period. We are still here. We are here. We are together. But apart from that, thank you very much for your support. Please continue to like, subscribe, retweet, share, repost, post to stories, drop a comment, do all that good stuff that feeds the algorithm and makes us get more and more people listening to us. And I guess on that note, we shall throw something new on the end. I haven't paid any attention to what's new music. We'll find something dope.
There's a lot of dope new stuff. We can play the new Black Coffee Night Freak remix.
Yep, that's dope. Shout out to Night Freak. And yes, Night Freak, please respond to my DM. Sure. He responded to the first one. Okay, no, anyway, let me not.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Why are you so embarrassing?
Come through. Hey. We're in the middle of important discussions here.
Why do you embarrass yourself like this?
It's not embarrassing, my brother. It's only embarrassing if you have an overinflated view of self, which I do not. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode. We'll catch you in the next one. At this point, we're going to say we out.
Loving